left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up.
One of the first issues you're going to realize when you walk into Central Middle School is this. Our parents have to ring into the system like at any school and show ID. And once our front office lets them into the building, we have to enter in through here. And we have, of course, our safety vestibule, but we have to radio our SSA to let them know whether or not they can let the parent in or not, which is kind of a delayed process. So then they go through metal detectors here, but then all guest visitors have to walk this hallway and go up the stairs. So for me, it's a safety issue. If a person did not want to go straight to the front office, they could easily go off downstairs or go off into a different direction. One of the other things that I'm concerned about is the wiring that's always exposed here at Central. Not only just on the wall, but also on the ceilings. So as you walk around Central, you'll see all of our internet and Wi-Fi wiring just kind of hanging out. That ramp's not ADA accessible. Our building does not have an elevator, so our building cannot house a child with a wheelchair. And it's extremely difficult when we have a student on crutches. I watched our custodial crew when we had to move classrooms around this year. They hauled furniture, desks up and down these stairs, which I was very proud of our custodial staff. They work really, really hard, but they shouldn't have to work that hard. One of the other things that makes this kind of unique is we still have skeleton keys. I don't even know if they make these keys anymore, but this is where we have to store our office supplies. So as you can see, even our storage is fairly limited. It's not for sure what this used to be. Maybe went down to an old gym. I'm going to take you down to the basement where our 8th grade is housed. One of the first days I came back in July, I walked into the building and I noticed that Mr. Rosas, our head custodian, was using the machine. We had water all the way down to those stairs there. There was water in every one of these classrooms. It destroyed some of the materials that teachers had on the floor. So you can see here how high that water got based on what the watermark is on the wall. We can fix it as much as we want, but the issues keep coming back. They're temporary, they're Band-Aid fixes is what they've become. You can see where there's water damage here, and then if you just look at the walls by the chairs, just the condensation and the moisture down here, and you can kind of smell it's kind of mildewy. So this is our girls' restroom. We are very limited in the amount of restroom space that we have for our students. We don't have enough urinals or toilets for our students. So you walk into the girls' restroom, you can see where the sinks are tearing away from the walls. They had to create a metal shelving unit to hold the sinks up. Protection on the pipes are ripped. There's only so much you can do to clean this to make it nice, but it's just old. You can see where they put even these posts here to hold up the structure. So here's just kind of where our storage is. Even the storage area needs a lot of work. If you walk around Central, it's not uncommon to see cracking paint everywhere. This is our mechanical room. You can notice the dirt that's on the floor. This entire room was flooded when we had that flood in the hallway. You can see where we have water that is constantly coming down from the foundation of the building. Our water supply, this is what it looks like on the ground and what supports it. So this is our wrestling room. So what we've had to do is, this is all rock. So these are old mats that we use as a subfloor. So our kids don't wrestle on these mats. We have to take our nice mats and roll them out so they can wrestle on a surface, but it's still just an uneven surface. We've had to put high jump pads up against here, up against the pillars. You can see where we've tried to keep the kids safe from the concrete and the walls. And over here with our storage, it's still on rocks. And you know, when I go to other middle schools in other districts, and when our kids go to other schools in other districts, and even when our kids enter in some of those newer buildings, it really does become an equity issue when you look at what our wrestlers are wrestling in. So if students have class out here in the trailers, they have to be buzzed in and out. So the only real protection we have is the fence, and I know how easily that fence could be crawled over. We had an incident a few weeks ago where something was happening in the community and we had to go into secure, which means we lock all doors, no one in and out, but we do business as usual in the school. Well, because the concern was outside the school, we could not release those kids from the trailers, and we couldn't let kids out to go to the trailers. There are no restrooms out there. So they were out there for about an hour and a half, close to an hour and a half, with no restroom usage, no water, which was a concern for me. There's only so much fixing we can do to this building before it just can't be fixed. Like I said, our custodial staff does the best they can do. If you walk in, our floors are shiny. It's a clean building, but we continue to put fixes on it, and it's to a point where it's not doing the job anymore.
All right. Good evening. So glad to see everybody. My name is Pastor Adrian, aka Coach Pops. Welcome to an impromptu Pops Corner. For those of you who know, we usually do these on Monday nights, but we felt like we just wanted to try to add some support to this conversation based upon the votes coming up next week. There's a lot of no's, there's a lot of yeses, and we want to just get both voices in the room, not trying to tell nobody how they should vote, but just to give folks thoughts in the room. And so I work for the Kansas Leadership Center in Wichita, Kansas, and we talk about challenges like this. People from Japan, Germany, Australia, all come into Wichita to learn this thing called adaptive leadership, or how to deal with adaptive challenges. And this is what we call an adaptive challenge, where things just not one answer may not be the proper answer. It may need a bunch of answers. And we know that our school district has a lot of challenges, but we know this one is at the forefront. And so I said, you know what? Man, I want to bring this type of conversation back home. And so I'm so glad y'all here. So excited for these amazing people who are coming in to chop it up. I mean, all of these people are amazing, doing great work in the community because they care for this community. So wait a minute. My wife is telling me there's no sound. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Yeah, thumbs up if you're in the Joe, you can hear me. CC, you can hear me. Okay. Ms. Hicks, you can hear me. Lorraine, you can hear me. All right. I'm not sure why that's doing that, but thank you. My wife is saying she ain't got no sound, but it sounds like we got y'all here. So I just want to bring everybody into the room. Then we're going to go ahead and say a quick prayer and get into this amazing conversation. Y'all know, first of all, I ought to bring my friend in. Man, she be putting in work. Where does she go? Where does Cece go? Does she go? Okay. Hello. Let's bring in Miss Pamela Penn Hicks. So glad she's here. Good to see you. Yep. Good to see you, Miss Hicks. How you doing tonight?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for coming. This is my first time getting to formally meet you. I know all about you, and I thank you so much for all the work that you do put into our community. So I'm going to bring in, y'all know the man, the myth, the legend. He's Joe Strauss. Let's give Joe a hand. Glad to see you. Good to see you, brother.
What's happening, everybody? How y'all doing?
Good to see you.
That's my table. That's my table partner up there from one of the meetings, Miss Hicks.
That's good. Good to see you.
That's right. All right. And I gotta bring my little sister in. Y'all know we know her as teacher extraordinaire, Miss Lorraine Williams, all the way from Rosedale. Good to see you.
Hey everyone. Hey brother.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see
All
you.
right, wait. Drum roll, please. Bam! There she is. Miss Cece. Good to see you. Good to
What's
see you.
going on,
Glad you're
CC?
here.
Hello. How y'all
Good
doing?
good to see you. Man, I am so excited. I'm so excited. CC sent me some data. I got some of the questions answered that I sent out to you all from Mr. Bursch tried to answer some of the questions. So I'm just going to put the answers out there and y'all can respond. And I called Joe because I thought Joe gave a great opposite view last week on his show. And so with these opposing views, I think are necessary for our community to go forward. And Lorraine is coming from the perspective of an instructor in one of the schools. So if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna say a quick prayer. We're gonna jump right in. So Lord, I thank you for these amazing people who love this community so much that they will stand for what they believe is right. And I'm just honored to help facilitate this conversation. So as we come together for no malice, but just to put it out there so that folks can then decide yay or nay which way they want to go based upon the data that has been put into the room. We know our school district needs a lot of help. We know our school district has other challenges, not just including the schools, but then we also know that we carry one of the heaviest tax burdens in the state. And so we have to find a way, and we believe that you will help us do this. But in the meantime, to come together as a community and talk about it, we're excited to do that. So we pray that all that we do nothing less than give you praise, honor, and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, y'all. Let's jump right in. If you would, Ms. Hicks, introduce yourself and tell us why you give so much to this community, because you are out there. I mean, you ain't playing. You know what I mean? Talk to the folks who may not be familiar with you, but tell us who you are, your life in the dots, so they can have a little bit of background about who you are.
Thank you. I'm in Hicks. I'm transplant to Kansas City, Kansas. I moved here in 1983. I had two young children with me, 3 and 5 years of age. And so I got right into the school district because I had a kid in kindergarten and worked for the federal government for 38 years. And when I had free time, I decided to spend some time in the community, seeing what was going on, and seeing how I could contribute to that. And so long history of paying attention to the school district, as a matter of fact, and even ran for the school board back in the 90s. But I was motivated by my children, who shared with me at an evening study session with some other friends of theirs that they were having difficulty getting their education because of the disruption in the classroom. So I just asked, do you need help? And they all looked at me and said yes. So I went to the first school board meeting and tried to share with them the thoughts of the young people that I was around. And I didn't have an opportunity to do that because I had to sign up for it and wait 2 weeks. Well, I came back and I spoke to them, and I didn't really receive any feedback from them about what the children were telling me was going on in the classrooms. And so that motivated me to find out more and participate and see what was going on. And that's wonderful. Where I started with the school district. It's been a long time ago.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all your efforts. And please keep grinding. We need you out here grinding. Anybody love the kids? Look, you keep grinding, sis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. J, Joseph Strauss, out here long time. We go way back like tube socks and bike shorts. But I want everybody to know, if you don't know Joe, Joe, tell them a little bit about your history in the dot and why is it so important for you to be a part of this conversation? Why do you think that is?
Well, I was born and raised in Wyandotte County. A lot of people who will watch this live feed, obviously, they'll recognize me as DJ Joe or just Joe Strauss or Joyce Battle's son, or part of the Cotton Poke family that has been a part of the Wyandotte County educational system for a long time. So I'm born and raised in KCK. I have 7 kids, or I have 7 kids total, but I've raised 5 kids right here in the district. I've had 1 graduate from Sumner, 3 graduate from FL Slagle, and then I have a current student that's at Sumner Academy right now as a freshman. In all transparency, I've been working in the district for over 20 something years, volunteering, mentoring, doing mentoring programs. I think I've been in every school, elementary, middle, and high, doing some sort of work, whether it be musical and educating and hyping kids up for testing and different things like that. I'm currently still doing those processes and procedures, but I am the new actually assistant band director at Sumner Academy this year. And so we are working, we're in the school every day, mentoring those kids as well, and still going out to these schools. I'm actually going to West Park Elementary next week to do an attendance celebration. And again, I'm out here in these schools, and I'm trying to do. I advocated back in the day after the SRD program, went in at Sligo, ran for school board a couple times, as well as advocated for the mentorship program, especially after some of the violence that have gone on in our schools that hit some of the news cycles and different things like that. But it's not to make the news, it's about to make the difference. So just because the news picked it up, we have been doing that work for many, many years beforehand, and will continue to do it even after my kids are gone. So that's kind of my story.
Wonderful, man. I always take I'm proud of you, little brother. I really am. The work that you and your wife are doing. So, man, we need you and Miss Pam. We need y'all out here doing the grind for these babies, man. Thank you for all your work. Batting third, we know her as Cece. And this sister here, when she comes correct. She brings receipts. She ain't just talking. She brings what she knows. And I'm just honored to know her. We've been getting close. I get to meet her, and she tells me what's going on. She keeps me up on what's going on, y'all. So, Miss Harlan, talk to them about your background. Why you should be in this conversation, and why is just working in your community so important to you? You're muted. You're muted. That's all right. There you go.
Okay. Well, I'm Cece Harlan, and I'm born and raised here. I'm used to be nursing support and work in dialysis and medical offices and stuff like that. So I got involved dealing with BPU, and when the community seen me speaking at BPU, they kind of led me every which direction, which is why I'm at all the different meetings. So, but I started dealing with the school board when my daughter attended Sumner. She graduated now, and so I still stay a little bit involved, and I kind of just help out other groups and things like that. They come to me to get statistics or different information on, things like that. So I get they say that I'm a good investigator, I guess. That's what I call it. Not a lot of research, if you call it that. So
Right.
Other than that, everybody's affected by the taxes here. So
okay. Well, I'm so glad you said yes. I'm so glad you're here. I appreciate all the hard work that you put in on the block too as well. And just like Miss Pam, Joe, CC, you are much needed here. And one of the things we talk about Kansas Leadership Center is sometimes if you want change in systems, you got to raise the heat. And Sister CC ain't got no problem. That's my sister. Yo, that's all right. Don't be ashamed. That's how you wired. I ain't mad at you. Thank you so much. My little sister, Lorraine Williams, in the building, longtime instructor in the district. We go way, way back. And she said, brother, I'd love to be on there. And so, Lorraine, talk to us, introduce yourself. Tell us what you do in the district, how long you've been doing what you're doing, and why is helping our kids so important to you?
First of all, I am a product of Wyandotte County. I'm a Dot child, and I grew up in Wyandotte County.
Right.
I was one of those kids who were on welfare at one point. Mom was doing what she had to do to make it. Wore secondhand me-down clothes, and basically worked my way up in the school district. Graduated from J.C. Harmon High School, and I attended Sligo High School as well. And I just moved my way up into the district I was actually substitute teacher, paraeducator, math teacher, I did tutoring. I was a cheer coach. I was very, very active in my district. And so I am still active as an assistant principal at Rosedale Middle School at this moment. And I'm still an instructor as well. My passion is to support our community in any way that I can and to be that mouthpiece to get the students to where they need to go, but also the support that they need so that they can be successful.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, thank you for your 20 plus years. Is that right? 20 plus?
24, actually 25 years, but I didn't go any further. It's actually a little over 30, but full time 23.
She's not trying to tell her age for real. That's why she's trying to keep them numbers down. She wants them numbers on paper, not on public, Doc. Come on.
That part. Hey, she ain't got no reason to be ashamed. You know what I mean?
But still looking good. I see. That's my sister.
Right.
That's
sister. That's sister. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank all of y'all for all y'all do. My background is I'm a dot. I went to Northeast when we had Northeast Junior High, and I'm giving y'all my age. So I went to Northeast and came out, went to Wyandotte in 76, came out in 79. I'm a dog, to the heart. I'm a bulldog to the heart. We have a ministry here, Kingdom Community Church. Also, my wife and I, who says hello. I guess she got her sound up. So there she is. She got her sound up. So she's able to hear everybody, but she says hello. We, for the last 15 years, have had an after-school reading and math STEM program. We're finishing up our youth football league this Saturday at Wyandotte High School, kids ages K through 8th grade. And then the other piece of that is called Game Changers, where we get a chance to really support and help parents of the kids who are playing in our sports league. And so we had a group at Northeast called the Esquires, and we had an English instructor named Mr. Harold Foster, and he brought the fraternity thing to the school, right? So he was an alpha. So for a week we pledged, we couldn't eat cookies, couldn't talk to girls, and then on that last day we got that wood, as they say, but now you was an Esquire. And I didn't get that at home. My parents just grinded. They just did 2 jobs, But he was the one that got us in the community. And he would tell us all the time, look, y'all are standing on the shoulders of, and he would just name folks, just bam, bam, bam. He said, y'all don't have a right to ask for anything but your hand out without doing something to lift somebody else's hand up. And that has stuck with me for my entire life. So that's how I got started. Started out in coaching youth football in 82. Next thing I know, I retired in 2019, coaching youth football. And so being involved with the school with Mariana Polk back in the day, we went to school when Indian Springs had buildings on it and all that. And we had the FAST program at Quindaro, families and schools together. So I kind of got some roots like all of y'all. So I get excited when I get with community folks like y'all all of y'all love this community. So we're going to jump into this conversation. And I felt compelled to do this again because, like I said, the vote is next week. And I understand the national stuff. But to me, what I'm learning is that it's more important locally. We got to get folks engaged local. We got to raise up new voices. I ain't mad at the ones we got. I'm just saying we got to raise up new potential leaders to help this community grow. And especially here on the Northeast end, there's the observation is if you're west of 435, all the juice is at 435. If you're east of 435 and the closer you come east, it's like everything gets shut down. And so that's an observation. There's a lot of interpretations you can make of that. But the fact of the matter is there's data that backs a lot of that up. So what we want to talk about here with this bill is, like I said, is this bond, is to just let's get some clarity on it from both perspectives. I got another short video from Argentina because that's the case. The case is we all know these buildings, some of our buildings do need help. They do. And we know that we are one of the highest tax counties in the state. These are two that are both true. So I gave y'all some questions, and so I'm just going to start with start with the first question. It says, so what is your primary reason for the no vote? And I've got a timer. I'm gonna get, because I want to try to get through all these questions. I'm gonna give everybody 90 seconds to try to as pithy as you can. What's your primary reason for a no? And what's your primary reason? Well, okay, sis, I'm doing this. How do you vote as of right now, Ms. Hicks? And you can say yes or no, and then tell us what a no. So, Sister Hicks, which way are you going? Yes or no?
I'm a strong proponent for no.
Okay, so talk to us. You got night. Talk to us why.
Okay, my primary reason has always been that I concentrate on the academic achievement and education of our children. And
Okay.
I've watched that process and studied the data over the years, and I've seen a steady decline in our children's abilities as far as scoring on the ACT, into the different levels of proficiency, which is just grade level. And then I meet a lot of children out here who are not capable of really moving on to a higher level of education. They are unable to do small things like make change. And when I ask them what high school they tell me I graduated, and I'm like, from where? And they tell me, and then I end up having to give them a little mini tutorial about how to make change. All right, how do you make 41 cents out of dimes and quarters and pennies? All right, I have met and have advocated for years that the educational process here is too low, that our children are not competitive. They're not competitive with their peers in the general area, and much less the children who are coming here from all over the world. And in order to be able to navigate life successfully, you have to have those basic skills. I have brought that to the board on a number of occasions, talked to them about that, but their primary focus has been on the bonds. And I understand the buildings need to be repaired, and how these buildings got into such a state of neglect did not happen overnight. It happened over time. And the fact that they did not address it when it was an easier problem to fix. And I know some of the buildings are old. I live in an old house, so I know what it takes to maintain my property. So these things needed to be done over a period of time. And now, particularly with the $420 million bond, there wasn't sufficient information out there for the community to know what was actually going to happen. And then we revised it to the $180 million. I look at the data that goes back to 2004. 2016. And when you propose something like a no tax increase bond, you must tell the truth. And there will be increases in the taxes, not simply just from the property values, which will go up every year. And we're piggybacking bonds on top of bonds, which means we're extending our indebtedness another 30 years. And so we're still paying for the older bonds. The other ones are not finished yet. So we really need to make sure that the money is spent properly and we accomplish the goals that we need to accomplish with that money if the bond should succeed, and it very well may. My focus will remain on our children and their educational quality.
Thank you, Sister Pam. Joe, which way are you leaning, and tell us why?
Well, I've already voted, so I've already voted for president, and I've already voted for the bond. So,
Okay.
And I'll say I'm a strong yes. And here's the reason why. I think that we sometimes get caught up in we have to do this before that. And I think that you can do two things at once. And I think that you can make strides and you can make gains at the same time. But I think that sometimes if you don't put our youth in success environments, you're not going to get the gains that you're looking for. If you don't give them the facilities and you don't give them the technology and you don't give them a comfortable environment to be educated in, they're going to be distracted all day. They're not going to get what they need. They're not going to be comfortable. You're going to be your schools are going to be cold. Your schools are going to be hot. There's going to be flooding issues. It's going to take you a long time. Kids are walking outside. They're getting wet. They're getting snowed on. They're getting rained on. So you tell me that's a great day. We don't live in California where we can make campuses like they do in California where students can walk back and forth between buildings. So do we have educational gaps? Absolutely, we have educational gaps. That's You know, that's what it is. I mean, you can see that across the country, but to try to pinpoint this district and say this district's failed our students, period. We've had some failures, absolutely. But if you look at nationwide data, it says the same thing across the country. So it says that our students across the country are down in math. It says our students across the country are having these learning gaps. And being in these schools and watching these teachers teach and watching these teachers try to prepare and watching them try to navigate, I don't see that the teachers aren't trying to get there. I think we are in a new era of leadership, and I believe that leadership is working their way through. And again, I'm not, y'all know I've been a very staunch proponent of some things that the district has tried to do. I've said heck no on a whole bunch of occasions. I've stood in front of the school board on top of chairs, and I'm gonna tell you that I've told them the wrong is rain. But on this one, this is one of those things where I say, listen, I can't for the life of me drive to Piper and see a brand new high school, and I can't drive out to Bonner and see a facility, or I can't drive over to Shawnee Mission or North Kansas City and all these places and can't say that those students aren't being set up for success facility wise as their teachers are giving them. So I'm just saying I'm voting yes, because you can do two things at once. And at the end of the day, some of the things we're putting our kids in right now is dangerous. I mean, the diseases and all kinds of stuff happen from black mold and old schools and all those type of things. So what happens when we get sued because we have a strong case of cancer and asthma because we got black mold growing up walls in some of these ROUs that have been here since the 90s. So those are the things that you got to say, yeah, it didn't get here overnight, but it's our job as a community, if we love our kids in our community, to fix it right now.
Okay, thank you. CC, Miss Harlan, which way are you going and why?
Well, I'm voting no. And if I have to narrow it down to one thing, I'm going to say financial accountability. We've given them more than enough money to have been fix these problems, and they have not done it yet. I asked the superintendent about the 68 million. It was 68 million at the top of the year, but now $61 million and some change in a cash carryover account for reserves. Not it carries over every year. I said, why don't you meet us halfway? I said, don't clear it out, but at least meet us halfway. She said she quoted like 38 million for one of these schools. I said, so pay 38 million for one of the schools and maybe we'll consider it. I said, but y'all, we get nothing back for the investment that we give. We don't get good grades. We don't get a good education for our kids. We don't get honesty. We don't get accountability, no integrity. And honestly, if I have to boil down to one thing, is financial accountability, because we give them a lot of money, not only by way of bond, but also during the tax year. This bond will accrue $213 million over 30 years. So my grandkids will be responsible to pay back this bond.
No. Okay. Thank you. Lorraine, let's give us your thoughts, not necessarily about the vote, but from a teacher's perspective. How do you see this playing out?
The one thing I really feel like is that we have to have facilities that are fully equipped and safe for our students to learn. We have so many programs that we're implementing within specific schools, and we want to make sure that each facility is safe. We want to make sure that everything is updated. And I have been to some of the schools that really do need the work. I've worked in a couple of those schools, and it is really, really bad. It's really sad just to go in and to see our children working in unsafe environments. And it's really sad to see that we have staff members who are working in classrooms that have dealt with a lot of floods. We've seen a lot of floods in several buildings. We have mold. There's mildew. I mean, it's everywhere. And so I'm concerned that if whatever way you vote, yes or no, it's going to impact the students anyway. The thing is, for me, is where do you want to see where the money's going to go, and where do you want to see it? You can see where it's going to. So where is it going? Where you want to see it, and think about our children at the same time, and the safety. And when I think about the education system, I know as a parent, I'm the first teacher for my kids. I'm the first teacher that started them reading the book, started teaching them math. Even when I didn't have the finances, even when I was struggling, I made sure that when my kids went to school, that they were ready to learn, and they were ready to do what they needed to do. And I was there to support them and to help them get where they needed to go. I really believe parents are the first teachers. It is a cyclical thing. It's cyclical. We break some of these generational things that are happening, as far as academically. I was a math teacher. I was able to push my kids to get them to where they needed to go as far as growth. I showed growth, in the worst place, but I was actually out in the trailers when I worked at Central Middle School. And that was still unsafe, having to do lockdown, living, lockdown right there. And so there's a lot of things that, we need to really focus on. And I understand it's finances, but I also know that academics as well too. And where I stand right now, I can't say yes or no, but as far as academics concerned, if we want our students to grow, we want to give them the best high quality, facilities ever, so that we can offer more programs, so that we can do more with our students and have the building available to do more tutoring. Because I do tutoring on Wednesdays, and I am an assistant principal, so I give back to my community. So I'm doing things to impact our community, whether it's 10 students or 20 students. So that's what I have to say about it.
Okay, thank you. It's good to see Dr. Green. She's one of our bus helpers. She rides the bus. We're a part of a ministry, and always glad to see her listening in. She's always out on the block doing work as well. So glad to see those of you that are here. We're gonna shift. Let's shift to the bond, because and this is where I'm getting educated. As far as how this thing with meals and all that. And I know that Cece sent me some documents. I'm gonna pull one up here in a minute, but I want to just to make sure she can explain what it is that she sent me. And so the third question was, how have the local taxes been impacted since the first bond in 2016? How have the local taxes been impacted since the first bond in 2016? And this was one of the responses that I got. It said there was not impact. The school district has not increased its mill rate in more than 7 to 8 years. The 2016 bond was no tax increase bond. It has remained the same through the life of the bond/loan. Ms. Pam, the floors are, I'll say, Ms. Cece or Joe, whoever would like to open the conversation. We're gonna I'm going to moderate a little bit because I'm going to get both sides in.
Miss Pam actually reviewed her taxes. So, if Miss Pam don't mind, can she explain it to you?
Okay, Miss Pam, please do.
I did. I went back and looked to see what kind of impact there had been from the 2016 bond, and just to start off with the piece of factual information, the property values are not determined by the school district; they're determined by. Okay. But yes, your property values impact your taxes. So over the years from 2016 until 2021, that's as far as I looked, I went back and I reviewed my tax statements. All right. And every year, because of the property valuations going up, the school district does get an increase in money from the local tax base. That would be us, those of us who live here. All right. And that average over the first 4 years was about 5% a year. Last year, because of the serious increase in property values we had, it went to almost 17%. That's how much more taxes the school district received. All right. Now they get money from the state for capital outlay. All right. And that was, I think, Cece, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was about $8 million that they received. It might be more. I don't know.
The Well, that depends on the students, the capital relay money, and
Right.
you should be right. It's right around $7 to $8 million. But they also get the lawsuit money from the Gannon, which is another huge sum of money that they started receiving in 2019. So
There's revenues that come in for the school district, you know, from the state, from the federal, for specific issues like special education, for disadvantaged children. All of these revenue streams come in and form the basis for our education system. The in the larger macro situation of people who live in USD 500, there are a little bit more than 50,000 households that live in USD 500. But of those, only about 37,000 are actual homeowners. So they were carrying the burden, and that's what made the 420 so onerous. We had just gone through BP rate increases. We had gone through property valuation increases. People were and we come out of the pandemic, and people were still, you know, dealing with inflation and the price of goods being so high. And it was a lot to ask a community that has a median income of around $55,000 to add that, tack that on to those increases. So that was too large of a burden. Then they came back with 180, and it's a smaller, more targeted one. But like CC, I'm looking for fiscal accountability. We've given the bonds in 2004, 2016. How did you let Central ever get to the condition that it's in? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. And when I look back historically for African Americans, which we all are, historically, we have always gotten our children educated, even in poorly constructed facilities with poor curriculums and poor textbooks. You name it, we had it, but we managed to thrive anyway. And part of that goes to the issue of teacher quality, which we've had a very big issue with over the last 20 years or so. When we started paying for master's degrees, we had a lot of teachers coming in straight from college to go get their master's degree. 5 years later, they're out and they're in another district. It is a fact that children who have economic disadvantages need highly qualified teachers. We're not retaining them. 90% of our teachers don't have a connection to the community. They don't live in Wyandotte County. So there was a number of factors that I said we really need to address. We don't have, you know, the local community teachers like we have. Miss Lorraine, you may be an exception, but there's not many of you, not enough of you, so that our children run into teachers on a regular basis at the grocery store. We used to have that community connection that would give our children the strength to know that we're paying attention to you, that we love you, we care about you, we want to see you get your education. Those factors have always been part of the equation of quality education, and money is not necessarily the largest factor in that.
Let me jump in here real quick. And I know this is not a debate style, this is a conversation, but I hear some of these things that are said, and I have, me and CC have talked on the phone, and we've had our good great old knockdown dragouts, and we respect each other greatly. And me and Miss Pam, when I met her, I absolutely enjoyed my time, and we've talked on the phone as well. But I want to clear up a couple of things that has been said out here in the public in this campaign to talk about the taxes and who's paying for them and different things like that. I'm a homeowner here in Wyandotte County. I own my house, been owning my home for my daughter just turned 21, so 21 years right here in the community, and praise God, I'm still here. I've watched my taxes increase year over year. I've watched my property value skyrocket. I currently have some of my children that are now raising their families, and they're looking to purchase homes in the Wyandotte County area. And what I will say is, for whatever reason, Wyandotte County right now is a very hotbed of people want houses in Wyandotte County, and there's a limited supply of homes in Wyandotte County, which has drastically increased the pricing structure of our houses. Where when I bought my house 21 years ago, and I paid a little over $100,000 for, if I were to buy my current home right now in Wyandotte County, it would cost me over $300,000. Okay. And I'm just keeping it 100. And I don't live in a new build. Okay. My house is before 1970 build, and it would be $300,000. Not, and if I was to sell my house right now, I could almost get $300,000 to sell the house that I paid $100,000. And that's over 21 years. Okay. So what I will say is this: when we say that there's 50,000 homes in Wyandotte County and only 30,000 or so of people that own them, that doesn't mean that the people who own them don't pay taxes. Every home in this county, every dwelling in this county has taxes paid on it, no matter whether somebody's renting that home or whether somebody owns that home. Somebody is paying a personal property tax on that particular, whether it's a corporation in California, whether it's somebody who lives right here in Kansas or somebody in Olathe. That tax is being paid. So it's not that we're sharing the tax burden on a limited number. Every dwelling, and I'm only saying that because I do also sit on the Planning and Zoning Commission for Wyandotte County. So I see every product and every project that comes into Kansas City, Kansas. So I want to say that the one problem that we do have is we need more roofs in Wyandotte County. Yes, to help increase that tax burden, but we got to be willing as a county, and this is why I always say 57th Street and 7th Street got to be on the same page, because we got to get some residents, we got to get some more apartments, we got to get some more single family homes built in Wyandotte County, and we have to make it attractive for people to want to move to Wyandotte County. And one of the main things that people look at when they're looking to move into a community as a young family is, what does that school district look like and what are they putting out? If I can send my kid to a great school, have you been in the new facilities from the First Bond? Have you walked through the Gloria Willis's? Have you walked through the new Northwest? Have you seen that those schools are comparable to, if I was going to move to Shawnee Mission and put my kid in the school and I walk through that school and I see those common areas and I go, man, this is where I want to start building my legacy. So I get it that we didn't get here overnight, but at some point in time, we got to make the shift to change. And so, yes, my property taxes have gone up. I'm a business owner as well as Wyandotte County. My business taxes, my personal property tax, every tax I got has gone through the roof. But the cause and the effect, when we say we don't get a return, I'm going to tell you right now, I already have 4 graduates out of this district. And they are all doing well. One's a KCK police officer, one's a manager out in Overland Park, one's a dental assistant, one is working on her bachelor's degree, working from home, raising 2 sons, and working for Medicare, Medicaid. And so our benefit and our return on investment is what we're putting into the community and those people wanting to stay here and raise their families here. That's the return on investment, instead of wanting to move to Piper or move to Shawnee or move to North Kansas City. And the last thing I will say is to the comment that, yeah, we're black. We're all black on this call, but our district is not. Our district is almost 50+% Latino.
That's right.
Okay. Our demographic has drastically shifted in Wyandotte County to where the educational ease that maybe we used to have, because I'm gonna tell you, Sumner wasn't a subpar school when they built it. Sumner didn't have the high school. I'm going back to the high school. Sumner High School had not subpar teachers. It was actually a junior college and a high school, and had some of the best instructors in the entire country because it was built that way. Wyandotte the same way. And so we really never had subpar back in the day. But now we're having to deal with demographic shifts that our district is trying to deal with, and they need to deal with it a little bit quicker. Again, I'm very critical. And again, they're probably going to fire me tomorrow, but my job, it is what it is. But we are 50-something% Latino, and we have all these language barriers that we're dealing with on a daily basis. I'm telling you, I walk through the schools and these students can have a whole conversation in front of me and I don't know what they're talking about. Okay. And so, so the challenges that our district is facing is unique, because guess what? Most of us that are on this call moved to the suburbs when we got a couple dollars in our pocket. And now most of our athletes are out there in Piper, and most of our athletes are over there in Lee Summit. Most of our athletes are up there in the Park Hill district, where if you go in those schools, you would think you were in the old Wyandotte County, because there are a lot of black kids that are walking around those buildings. And we are And I'm not saying that that's a negative thing on the Latino. We just have to shift our mindset on how we're approaching education in Wyandotte County. And I'll leave it there.
I want to add to the 55% as well too, because I was a newcomers teacher at one point. I taught we had first language, the second native language. I mean, I taught the kids who came to America that didn't speak any English, and our scores from the state was impacted because of that. Not saying that they couldn't do it; it was a language barrier there, and so we had extra work to do. So the numbers have increased, and so each subgroup has a certain percentage that can be used in the formula as far as the test scores. And so our test scores is a reflection of our population and our demographics. So our demographics does show that we have our 55%. And I looked at the data, and it does show that, but also we don't know if they don't speak language. We have newcomers, we have kids who are 1 year, 2 years, and then 3 years. And so it's taking some time. Now, the translation part of it and processing that information when they take the state test, it's very challenging for those kids to be able to translate and process from their first native language. So the test results are coming from, that as well too. So when we look at our demographics again, our blacks are at 25%, somewhere about 25% is what I saw. And so that is a representation of our black families as well too. So I'm curious to see what percentage of parents are going to vote no or vote yes for that. So that's a challenge that I see right now, is that as far as the assessment's concerned, our kids who don't speak English well, it's a disadvantage for them. And it's not like they're not smart or intelligent. They're smart and intelligent, but it's in English. And so I really feel like our kids are set up to fail because of how the system is. Teachers would say the exact same thing.
CC, thoughts?
So USD 500 is made up primarily of older retired people. I just sent you Piper's taxes by text message, because I want to show you the difference in that, and what we're going to end up like. And if our elderly had to be responsible for the increase around, in 2020 District 1, so Gail Townsend's District 2021, District 1 was made up primarily 85% of in the black demographics, 85% of elderly people. And when I take that into account, a lot of elderly people live in these areas. They don't work. So we're telling our elderly people they have to go and get a job or sell their homes or be put out their homes because they can't afford taxes like that. They say that it won't affect the mill levy. The school board may not have raised our taxes, but they're taking out credit almost every year. How do they do that? By exceeding revenue neutral. That is what that means. That means that we're going to go above revenue neutral, how much ever we need to go above revenue neutral to pay off whatever it is that we need to pay off. So every time they do that, that's raising our taxes. Not to mention, Ms. Pam said that her taxes went up every year after that. We have been complaining already about how high our taxes are. So we're going to go up every year from now on to compensate for this no tax increase bond or loan. Then our taxes are going to be worse than Piper's here soon, because all our schools need to be replaced. I get upset with USD 500 because we pay these attorneys. There was a lawsuit that said that the state of Kansas was negligent in funding all the schools in the state. So if that's the case, then why does John schools, and we can save property taxes, but if they were negligent in funding all the state schools, and the case is Gannon versus the Kansas Board of Education, the State Board of Education. That's why one of the reasons they keep getting a large sum of money every year. But if they were negligent in funding the schools in the whole state, how come all the schools in the state don't look like USD 500 or maybe other indigent areas or poor areas and stuff like that? It's because they underfunded us, if you will. So why are our attorneys going after money saying, hey, since you have neglected us, we got schools with black mold in it that is predominantly a minority school, whether it's black or Hispanic? Why aren't we holding the state accountable like Gannon did? That's what I want to know, because we shouldn't have to pay this if the state has been neglecting to fund us properly. Our kids should never have to even been in this situation in the first place. And this is minus the tax money that we get every year, or that we give them every year. This is a willful neglect according to the lawsuit from the state. So, and I asked them, how come they can't look at the other options that they have other than turning to the people? Another option is they have federal grant money that they can go after to pay for some of this stuff. And they don't want to do it because they have to be held accountable for where they spend that money. They have to do what they say they're going to do with it. They don't want that because they have less oversight on this bond money.
But just to respond to that real quick, on your funding of school districts, your revenue for your school districts don't just come from the state. It's a joint. Yes, the lawsuit she's speaking of is absolutely correct, but that's a portion.
I can't hear anything he's saying right now.
Okay, you can't hear what I'm saying right now?
Hello?
Try it again, Joe.
Okay, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm saying is a district is not solely funded by the state. So a district is partially funded by the state. And yes, the state has a lawsuit where the districts were underfunded and it was disproportionately, but that's only a portion of what the district brings in. If you look at these other districts and you look at the number of households, we start talking about number of households and number of houses and property taxes. When you start going into the Shawnee Mission districts and you start going into the Blue Valley districts and you start going into those other districts, those districts have more households and their taxes are bringing more money into those facilities. And there are also other things that are written into those particular municipalities that bring funding into those schools. We don't particularly have enough houses to combat what they're doing in those areas. Yeah, we're going to get a bump from the state, but it's not going to be adequate to build new schools. That bump from the state is for operating rate, for operation, paying your teachers, making sure you're making your payroll, making sure you're doing these different things. It's more so for operation and making sure that the educational process is fair and equal across the board as far as what's being given out. I think we're having issues with Miss Pam and Miss Cece's, unfortunately, because these are the misconceptions that say just because the state underfunded the schools that we can get all this money back from the state and build these schools, and that's not the case. That is basically to go in, so make sure we can pay our teachers a great wage, making sure we can get enough social workers in our school, making sure we have the right SPED programs in our schools. And yes, maybe some of that stuff can go to capital, but most of your buildings and your actual facilities are generated from either bonds or your property taxes or your meal levies. So that's kind of the misconception where that revenue comes from.
Okay. Yeah, I just text Miss Cece trying to get her to come back in. Miss Hicks, if y'all can go out and come back in, love to have you back because this is an amazing conversation. I'm going to, and then I just got some insight. It said that the money, that money is not for large construction projects. Only $7 million comes from the state for operations. It is not enough for the new buildings. And so I also want to tell everybody, look, the chat is open. Please feel free to come in and put your thoughts in the chat. Just keep it G rated. You know what I mean? Let's keep it above where it needs to be, respectful, but please come in and put what you want to put into the conversation. Let me exit the full screen. Let me see if we can get, see if my friends are back. Okay, there she is. She's back. We got her back. She's back on. There she is. Okay, good to see you. All right, she's back. Sister Hicks is trying to get back on. So go ahead, Cece.
I just sent you another document, which was an audit on the school board.
Okay.
The year that audit was taken, which was around 2019, started the state giving them somewhere around $400 million a year. And it's been every year. So I know that they're not using all of that on operation costs because their budget is not usually that much until they started getting that money.
Okay.
And it's been coming
Okay.
every year because of the Gannon case.
Okay. All right. Let me look on my phone, see if I can pull that up.
I sent it to your email, the Robertson one.
Okay, Rob. Okay. Let me pull it up. But let's do a quick shift because somebody mentioned the meals. So, and I'm gonna try to see what Miss Cece brought me, but I'm gonna bring up this thing about the meals. Also, there was a question: the students with the language barriers, are their parents, guardians able to vote for the bond? Would anyone know?
I won't let Lorraine answer that because of who she and where she is on where she there's a strong possibility that some of those particular parents may not be legal enough to vote for the bond. And I'm not saying that in a
negative
way. I'm just saying, and demographically that's kind of where I'll leave that, and I don't want to go any deeper than that.
Okay, no, that's a fair. Go ahead, sis.
Yeah, a couple of things that Joseph mentioned earlier about the attraction to the community being based on what our schools look like. I think our parents go a little deeper than that, not just the facilities, but actually the outcomes that they will receive at that particular school. And yes, I do agree that there is going to be an impact based on the fact that many of these children coming in do not speak English as a primary language. But I've looked at this district for 40 years, and we've been watching the ACT scores over time. And there was a period of time when we couldn't even get them because they were dropping so fast. And that was really before we had the number of migration that we've had in the last 10, 15 years. So this has been an ongoing problem for quite some time. And many of the parents, and I wish that all parents were like us, who set our children down and imparted in them the value of an education and put that energy into them and that time into them. But I will say to you that many of the parents of the children that we have in the classrooms now were the children who were in the classrooms 20, 25 years ago. And we were seeing a decline in the level of education even then. And yes, although it is a national issue, and it certainly is a statewide issue, I don't want to just reach the average. I don't want us to do that. I think Wyandotte County deserves more than that. It deserves better than that. Because when you were talking about all the people who you were able to list from out of Sumner, before Sumner became an academy, when it was still a high school, there is a legacy in Wyandotte County of highly educated young people coming out of this district, making real contributions to the world.
Yeah, and the real talk there still is. I'm not meaning to cut you off, but yeah.
And we're not. But I will say to you this, that when KCK Community College says that they have to start remedial education for the children coming out of USD 500, for them to matriculate at the community college level, that's a real indicator that our children.
She froze up again.
Yeah, she froze up again.
And I'll piggyback to what.
There you go. There she goes.
There she is. Come on.
So that's what has concerned me over time. And I understand what you're saying, Joseph. When people come here, they want to have all the amenities. Okay. And we on the zoning and planning, what's going on and what's happened to the Northeast over time. Okay.
Absolutely.
And many of the children that are coming in, whose parents are immigrants, are coming into the Northeast area. It's going to be an impact because we've had so many. And to see the population, expand as quickly as it has, sure, we're going to factor all that in. But let's make sure that we are also taking care of the children who were born here and who need that extra help as well. We know we have to give extra resources to the ESL. We know we have to give extra resources to their parents to help them facilitate this, to navigate this school district as well, and their own education as, people who come into America. But we still have a large population of young people who need more from all of us as far as this community is concerned. And one last thing I want to say about the tax issue. When the school board did an accounting trick to address the no tax increase that they were putting on this particular bond. They moved money from out of their contingency fund. And if you want to go back and look at that meeting, you can for yourself, that they did it right there in the meeting. And they moved $3.85 million out of the contingency fund, which we didn't even know existed. And one of the board members asked, how much is in that contingency fund? And they said $17 million. And that's separate from the money that Cece was talking about earlier. And they moved that $3.85 million to give the impression that there would be no tax increase. And then after this bond is over, they are going to move that $3.85 million back into that contingency fund. You shouldn't have to do that if this is truly a no tax increase bond. And that's one of the reasons why I was against it. When I saw them do that, I said, why are you not being honest with the community about the long-term impact of a bond? There is a tax increase over time. You can't get money free. You got to pay for that money. And there is an interest rate on that money. And because we already have two that are in existence that we are still paying for, and you're piggybacking a third one on top of that, and that, like Cece said, her grandchildren would be paying for that. And in another 10 years, because this was just part of a smaller, larger package. Their real intent, when they first talked about the $420 million bond, was to indebt us over 10 years' time to almost $1 billion worth of bond debt. And you're absolutely right. It's not just the homeowners who will pay for it. The rents will go up because the people who own those properties will pass that increase on to their renters. And we are having major issues. So when I look at all the financial impact on the community, I am not against us creating better buildings for our children. And yes, I have been in Gloria Willis. And yes, I have been in Carl Bruce. And the education process is still struggling there. Brand new buildings, looks good, but they're still struggling with the basic reason that they have a school, which is to educate our children. They still have too much violence. The children are not testing well. I can, go on and on about what I have seen personally, because and what I have researched. And at this point in time, I'm not willing to add that burden on to what, like Cece said, the majority of the people in the district, their incomes are $55,000 or less. And many of those people are retired with fixed incomes. So you have to be accommodating to everybody. We all love our children. I never want it to be said we don't love these children, because we all do. And this is not about the love we have for our children. This is about financial responsibility. This is about the current circumstances our community is in. And we need to make sure that when the money comes in, because there have been millions of dollars that have come into this school district. And there's no reason on this God's green earth that these schools should look like they do. And the fact that they do, that there's some accountability issues within this school district. And I would like to see that resolved. But number one for me is making sure that these children walk across that stage with that diploma in hand. And I don't mean diploma plus. I mean the diploma that says that they can read and they can do arithmetic and they can function and move on in their lives with their education process, wherever it may lead them, trade, college, or just life in general. They need to be prepared, and they are not.
Okay.
I just
Cece, real quick.
I just want to add something real fast. So, when they had the conditional, when they were set for the conditional accreditation, all the way up till the time that they were given back accreditation, full accreditation, from approximately the end of October to March of this year, they didn't do any testing to prove that those kids were up to par. They did none of that. Basically, all they did was stop suspending kids, which lowered the dropout rate and allowed them to graduate unprepared. And in turn, KCK has started a program to get our kids up to par to be able to attend the junior college, because they're not there when they graduate. We have to take this into consideration before voting for this group of leadership. I think we need to get rid of leadership, and then I'll be more open to it, because then I think that they would be more willing to work with the community.
What particular leadership are you talking? Are you talking the board, or are you talking the superintendent?
All of the leadership that makes the decisions, the board, the superintendent, all of them. At this point, I all I've seen them do is push things. Like the fact that they didn't test the kids and make sure that they were up to par to get accreditation just so that they could get the bond. Now I'm gonna explain why. Because the bond would be no good if we voted yes and the school had no accreditation because nobody would cash the bond in for them. So the state helped them get back accreditation so that they could even get the bond because they wouldn't been able to cash it in otherwise.
So what I'll say to that, and I'll let Lorraine speak because she's been off mute for a minute, and I know she got something to say. What I will say to kind of what CC has said and what Pam has said, Ms. Hicks, is I am not the expert at what you guys are saying, and I can't say for a fact that that is exactly what the district has done with the 3-point-something odd million. I'd have to go look at those meetings, and I can't speak to that. But what I don't want to do is say something on here that may not be entirely accurate. And I'm not saying that y'all don't have I'm not saying you don't have the data that you're saying, but what I'm saying is I understand the provisional accreditation and I understand full accreditation, and I know that you can't get back full accreditation with just not suspending kids. So I'm gonna let Lorraine speak to that because she's an educator, and I feel like she was a part of that process, and so I feel like she's the most qualified person on the call to make that statement.
When you said the no suspend for the students, and that is, again, I'm not on the high school level. I was on the middle school level. And we're talking about restorative justice, and we're talking about students who have social emotional problems. We're talking about kids who have mental illnesses. We're talking about our SPED department. Those numbers have increased so much that the teachers will need another person in that classroom. And the support that those students need is so huge and so big right now. And they're part of the test scores as well, too. I really feel like our district don't have all of the resources, because if they did, then I would be able to see things happen the way that it should happen. And I don't see it happening that way. Our SPED kids have they need a lot of help, a lot of support. We have kids who are undiagnosed. We have kids who are dealing with a lot of mental illnesses. We don't have enough. We have social workers, but we need more social workers. What I'm saying is we have a lot of work to do. And when I go into the building every day and I see our students and I see some of them struggling with mental illnesses, I see some of them struggling with social skills, and I see them struggling with so much. We don't even have the capacity to even give them what they need. We're doing the best that we can with what we have. If there was any extra money, I'm sure we would have that extra money to be able to give the support that we need. But there's so much that's going on inside of the building that you don't see. Those kids are not getting all what they need because our teachers can't give them all of that. It's so much going on in the building that you wouldn't even believe. And it has nothing to do with a lot of our leadership. It's what stipulations and regulations and statewide everything. There's always something that we have to do to get something, and something that needs to be done in order for us to get something. And I understand exactly what you're saying. But I'm gonna say this about our teachers: they're truly angels. I can tell you that much with what I see them dealing with and putting up with, because we have kids who, if you're fighting, you're going to get suspended, because and that interrupts the learning environment. That's a challenge for us. And so we weren't suspending kids at all. But now we're reshifting things and redoing things. Our leader is guiding us through this whole process. And again, you got to remember, we've had so many different superintendents that there's things that we had to do underneath their cabinet. So you're seeing a ripple effect. You're seeing it being impacted in such a way now that our new leader is being very strategic about how she's going to move, how she's going to make the next move. She's not just going to come in, just move immediately. She's evaluating. She's looking at different things that's been happening in our school district, and she's making the decisions And what I'm seeing right now, we're seeing some impact from our student growth right now. It may not be a whole lot, but there's been years and years and years of a lot of students who were not on grade level that we're seeing some growth now. It's a process, and we're seeing some of that right now from our leader.
We got some great input here in the chat. Hold on, Miss CC. Hold your point. Don't let me put. I gotta get this. We got a lot of folks in the chat that's putting some good stuff in here. Teachers in low performing schools should not be seen as ineffective. This is Coach Dion. Instead, the school's performance often mirrors broader community priorities and challenges that extend beyond the classroom. He says we have to reimagine the educational infrastructure in KCK to address the unique needs. He closes with, you can't go to space in a helicopter. And then Sister Hall, hey, Sister Corey, good to see you, asked this question. Then why not ask for a bond to help with that support instead of a new building? And I want you to just, before we just think about that. And okay, then I'm at CC, and then Joe, if you want to come in, Miss Pam, and then I'm going to come to this question. Okay, so this, and the challenge is going to be, because we've got about 15 minutes left, and I want us to shift to the possibility. So what do we do at the, and so go ahead, CC, get your point out, because I know you're ready to get that out.
To let Ms. Williams know that I'm not in supporting the teachers with this. I have no complaint about the teachers or the direct the people who work directly with the students. I've seen a lot of wasteful spending on top, which is why I fight the way I do, because all the money we give them, they should be able to give y'all what y'all need to support y'all. We should never be in this position with the amount of money we are flooding into USD 500. And this is why I'm on a strong no, because I want them to know, I want the leadership to know that our teachers should come first, because those are the ones directly supporting my kids, my grandkids, your kids. And so I'm fighting for the teachers. I have a lot of teachers supporting me, and I'm here for them tonight because they were scared that they weren't able to voice their no without being retaliated against at work. So I commend both of you for being here, and I pray that they, don't say nothing to y'all about being here and fighting for your yes or your no or your undecided. But I don't have an issue with the teachers. I support the teachers, and I want to make sure that they get the support that they need out of whatever money we're giving this school, because all I see is wasteful spending on top, and I'm tired of it.
So let me ask this question. So Dr. Stubblefield, because Sister Pam went all the way back to 2016. Was that right? 2015. So that was before Dr. Stubblefield. Dr. Stubblefield has been here. How long, Joe? How long has she been here?
2021.
2021. So we're talking about challenges that she walks into the quagmire. Mm-hmm. She walks into the quicksand. So, and then even with that, there are, let me see, we had Lane. We had, who came up to Dr. Lane?
Nobody.
We had five.
Just keep going.
Yeah, we had.
I'm second Joseph on that. What I do?
we had little Hitler, and then we had, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. My bad. But in between that, I mean, when she gave the statistic about every time you change a leader, it puts the district back 7 to 8 years.
That's 7 to 8 years of children who are not necessarily getting the education that they need. And we cannot afford to sacrifice our children just because leadership needs to take time to get on board and get on, rolling. We should not have to do that to our children.
Go ahead, Joe.
The one thing I will say this, okay? Everybody knows I wasn't a Fouts fan from get-go. And I've been given this analogy in every one of my get out the vote conversations. District 500 is an animal. It's a beast. It's a ship. It's a cruise ship. It's cruise carnival ×2. And every captain navigates a boat differently. And so I will say this about Dr. Stubblefield. Man, I know who her. It was between two people, and I was like, I didn't know anything about Dr. Stubblefield, but I did know about Jennifer, and she's a superintendent KCMO now because I went to school with Jennifer, and I wasn't super hot on Dr. Stubblefield because I wanted my candidate. You know how we do, right? All right, but when we got Dr. Stubblefield, the one thing I can say, and the one thing I truly believe about Dr. Stubblefield is she's in it for the long haul. And so, and I don't say, and I knew Faust wasn't. And every time I've approached Dr. Stubblefield, she's been very respectful. And everybody knows, and she came to my house for a superintendent to come sit in my living room and have a conversation. That's something different. With no script, just straight up. And she knew I was against the last bond. And she still came and sat here anyway. And I've sat in her office and I've had a one-on-one. And the one thing I'll say about the cruise ship analogy that I've been using is, as Lorraine said, you start to see those growths. I've seen changes in building administration since she's been here that I've been asking for years. I've seen principals that have students that didn't even know their principals' names. And I've seen changes in administration at the top of some of these schools, because I'm gonna tell you, it starts at the principal's office, and above that, it starts at the superintendent. Then above that, it starts at the people y'all keep putting on the school board, and that's a whole different conversation for a different day. But what I'm gonna say is, this cruise ship, you can't turn it like a speedboat, or else everybody on the cruise ship is going to be thrown out of whack. Your teachers, your custodians, your counselors, everybody's going to get thrown, and they're going to get thrown to the ground. This thing has to be incremental and precise. And so have we been heavy? Have we been top heavy? Absolutely, we've been some top heavy. But have I seen some hires that make me say, we going in the right direction? When I see a homer like Jarius Jones come in because we've had HR issues in the past with hiring and different things like that, and I start seeing them making incremental changes and smart decisions, bringing them type of people back after they've gotten experience as being principals and assistant principals and gone to the Shawnee Mission districts, and then being able to bring them back here in positions that they can affect change. I start to see these things and I add them up in the conversations, and even in these buildings, as you walk through them and you talk to these teachers and these administrators, you don't have, I know some of them may be a little fearful to get on here and talk about the yes, the no, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't know a teacher that'll walk into a classroom where the lights barely work and they're dim and the kids can't even read the computers and the words that are on their paper that say, I don't need a new classroom. I don't believe that. And I know we're gonna have a closing argument, so I'm gonna shut up because we got 8 minutes left.
So we got Dion again. Thank you. This is, man, I'm telling you, before I bring Dion up, Mark Keltner said he had 40 years in education here. He said this is the smartest discussion on education I've heard. So this is kudos to y'all. I mean, you know what I mean? Our kids in KCK need this kind of involvement to succeed. Thank you all for caring. So again, like I said at the gate, you all bring such passion to this that when we come together and talk through things like this, I think we can come up with some experiments or some ideas that can get us to the very next step. So Mr. Dion said this. He said updated facilities, enhanced learning environments, and updated resources could directly import students' ability to engage with the education and see its relevance in their lives. Right now, they can't build a relevant connection to engage with the content. So, like Joe said, we've got 7 minutes. And one of the things that we do at KOC is once we have these conversations, I want you to try to think of one thing. If you could say, okay, this is one thing I would love to see as an intervention to turn this thing around. I know that we got 2 no's, we have a yes, and then we have an instructor here who's not giving which way she's going to go. But if you could think of one thing, what's one experiment you would want to see seriously? I want you to take a deep breath, and I'll give each one of you about a minute and a half to express that one thing you like to see that's going to turn, like Joe said, this ship around. Miss Pam, I'm going to ask you to go first, please.
I have had this conversation with a number of people over time.
Yes, ma'am.
That one of the things that I think impacted our school district heavily was when the community was disinvited from being part of the school district. Now, I know you're going to say we're a part of sports and we can be part of the education process, but there was a time when the community, grandparents, and so forth were freely welcome into the school buildings. That changed about 20 years ago. We've had some people who've maintained a relationship with the school district, and Joe, you're one of them. I could say Reggie is another. You know, there's some other people I know who've been able to maintain that relationship and be inside the schools. But our children need us.
Yeah.
They need to help them to understand what the value of their education is and what it will do to them for their lives. I had a conversation earlier today with one of our elected officials, and we were bemoaning the fact that we had lost 2 icons in the same day. Okay. And that the collective information that those 2 had reflect on what Wyandotte County has always had, which is a strong history. We've sent some people out of here who have made serious impact on the world and in our local areas, and our children don't know them.
Yeah.
They haven't a connection with them, and they don't understand how important it is for them to bring their own contribution and how we share with them how that's done. All right. And I think that that would have a major impact on our children, cut down on the violence, help them to reconnect, refocus on what education is truly about. They need us.
That's powerful. Thank you so much. That's powerful. Come on, Joe. Well, what's the one thing? One thing.
For my minute and a half, this is why this conversation is good. You know, I'm a strong yes, because I know we need this for our students. I know we need this for our facilities. But the one thing I would say is, from a district perspective, the better thing that the district can always do is be more transparent. And the district can do, in my opinion, when she talks about staying engaged, there's a ton of programs. We can talk about that from here. There's a ton of reasons why we don't want everybody in the schools, and that's here. But one thing that I would say is, from a district perspective, we have to re-engage the surrounding communities. And when we start building these facilities, we can't build facilities and then ask us to pay for them and then lock them up like Fort Knox and not put programming in them that helps the surrounding areas. So we should be having, if we're going to build new middle schools on the south side, we should be planning to have night schools for those parents that don't know how to speak English, for those immigrants that don't know how to come in and speak English, for them to be engaged. We should be paying teachers overtime to teach classes as English as a second language, not just because of who they're teaching to the students, but they're teaching also to their parents in the evening times. As we build these new facilities, these new sports facilities, we should have our youth sports being able to use them. We should have workout facilities that the community can go in and be engaging in. So it makes it a community. When I go to Lee Summit, and I go to Lee Summit on a Wednesday night, and they've got a senior exercise class in the gym where the seniors are in there doing jazzercise, and you got people walking around on the track, the community owns that particular facility and they're paying for it. So I say we need we need these facilities, but we also need to make sure that the community just doesn't give you money and they don't feel like they get the benefits of a brand new swimming pool or a brand new track or a brand new facility. They need to be brought into the conversation and into the facilities where they can also benefit from them.
That's awesome. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Miss Cece, come on.
So I just want to say that my compromise will be for the community and the staff that directly works with our students to come together and vote no on this one, so we can go back to the table and make sure that the staff who works directly with our students are getting the support that they need out of the money that y'all are asking for, because you don't only need new buildings, you said you need support and all kind of things. So I feel like we need to make sure that everybody is taken care of, including our teachers and our coaches and stuff like that. I don't think that it should be dumbed down to just the building. I also feel like that the district should invest with us. We need some reassurance that that the school district is not just trying to be financially unaccountable with our money again and drain some of that reserve accounts. They have millions in reserve accounts. Come on, give up some of that. You pay for one of the schools because that's our money sitting in those reserve accounts. Give up some of that and pay for one of these schools and go half with us, if you will. You give up 90 and we give up 90. How is that?
Okay. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Come on, Lorraine. Come on. Thoughts. One thing.
Well, it takes a community to raise up the next generation. It takes up the community. It takes a community to raise up the next generation, whatever that be. So, whatever needs to be sacrificed. It is about our students' future. That these are our doctors, these are our lawyers, these are our future. So you have to invest where you know you're going to get the greatest outcome.
Okay. So is that your one point? You have to invest.
Yes, you have to invest where you're going to get your greatest impact. And for me, it is our student and our staff as well.
Okay. That's gonna be the last banner. I'm gonna put this banner
I want
up.
to say I agree with Dion Witten's last comment over here.
What Dion say?
The one about about sports and athletic stuff.
Okay.
The
Okay.
community does not see the importance in it, but it is important for some students.
Gotcha. The community is the quarterback and the first teacher. All right. All right. Wait.
Real quick.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
You've given us all some credit for our response and our responsibility to the community. But I also want to congratulate you and your wife for what you have done in this community. That has been very important. And if we could put all those pieces together that we've talked about tonight, we would have one awesome school district and one awesome community. So I encourage anybody who's listening to join in, not only to vote, but to stay engaged with the school district. Our children need all of us. And that community that you talked about, Ms. Lorraine, is absolutely critical.
Yeah. Well, look, y'all are amazing. I owe y'all a bubblegum cigar and a Coca-Cola. Y'all are awesome. Man, this was awesome, man. This was awesome. And the community from folks that were listening reflect the fact that they appreciate and thank y'all for the work that y'all doing from the bottom of my heart, man. Thank y'all so much for everything. And Miss Pam hit it on the head. They need us, y'all. And we need everybody to come out and get involved. So we've reached our time boundary. Thank y'all so much for taking the time coming out on Halloween. I know some of y'all want to go out and give candy to the children, but they some of them still out there. But look, love y'all. Thank y'all. Keep doing what you're doing, and God bless you. We'll talk to y'all later.
Prayer?
Huh?
Pray us out, Doc.
Prayer real quick.
Pray us out, Doc. I mean, you qualified, Lorraine qualified, I'm qualified, but it's your podcast, so go ahead and pray us out, Doc.
Come on. Now, you know what I love about that? We're going to have the instructor in the room.
Amen.
Lorraine.
Amen.
Pray us out. Come on, Lorraine.
Father God, we thank you for each and every individual who was on the platform today. Father God, we've heard their passion. We've heard information that is pertinent to decisions that will be made for this no tax bond. Father God, I thank you, Father, that you have given us clear information. And Father, I pray that the information that has been spoken tonight will be able to push people's decisions to the right side of this here situation, which is very, very important to our community. And so, Father God, we thank you for everyone. We ask you to bless everyone's home. We thank you, God, that in this time that we will know what's best for our community and that you have the answer and that you are the solution. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
I love you, CC. I love you, Miss Hicks. And
love y'all.
You know, we all good. We community, we family.
That's it.
That's
Everybody
right.
on here. We
That's
family.
right. Love y'all.
Love y'all.
All right.
Love y'all. All right. Love y'all.